Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range.
I'm having a good time.
You are?
Yeah.
I can tell.
And we are rolling too.
Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Today's guest is Kristyan Stjerne. Kristyan is a surfer, yogi, artist, and a calming presence in pandemic times. Kristyan divides his time between California and Bali, making art, maintaining his yoga practice, and surfing every chance he gets. Kristyan finds his spiritual home in Uluwatu Bali, which is where we are sitting right now on the Bukit peninsula, listening to the sounds of the Indian Ocean bouncing off the reef. It's pretty epic, Kristyan, would you say?
Yeah, it's magical.
Today, Kristyan is with me to share his journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Kristyan Stjerne, welcome.
Thank you. Such an honor to be here with you.
Dude, it's an honor to be here with you, man. This podcast, man, just the guests who are meant to be on just appear.
We find a way.
You know, and like I was out in the surf yesterday and I seen awesome dreadlocks just glide past me on your twin fin that looked like it was about 4 foot. How big is that thing?
A little 410.
It's 410.
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew it was under 5 foot.
Yeah, it's a little guy. Rob made that one for me.
Rob who? Rob Machado.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So then, and I was like, I'd actually reached out to you. Oh man, I think it was last year, and you were like, "Yeah, man, I'd love to be on. I've just got to go back to California. I'll be back early next year." And then what do you know?
Here we show up. Yeah, that was wild. That's synchronicity out here is wild, right?
Why? Why do you think that is? Because I see it all the time.
Yeah, it's happening to us, I think, everywhere all the time. But here in Bali specifically, I think because we're more in an optimal space, then things just start flowing for us easier, but that innate synchronicity is happening all the time, and it's who are we conscious of that we run into, but we're meeting new people everywhere all the time. And it's the ones that we kind of stop us in our way and we feel a connection with and kind of break our flow but it happens all the time, I think it's just here we're in a little more open space. Don't you feel?
Well, I just feel like this place can really crack people open.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've seen it crack, literally.
Yep.
Like, I've seen it crack heads open.
Yeah.
But I've also seen it crack people open in terms of them finding themselves, who they are. I've seen it crack relationships right open.
Definitely.
And I think it's a real place of healing. And I'm convinced of that. And I don't think, if you're not ready to heal, I kind of feel like it's going to send you home.
Yeah. I've seen that happen. I've experienced it. I came here about 7 years ago now, and I brought so much baggage with me from America, so much programming, so much conditioning, so much things from my past, things from my childhood, and Bali and Indonesia in general, and the people. It's been so warm to me and so inviting and so nice. It felt kind of a lot like a fish out of water most of my life in America.
Why? Did you not identifying with your surroundings?
Are
you okay with that mic level?
Yeah.
Sorry, sorry, dude. I never usually do that.
Oh, good.
Tell me. So, like, you said you weren't feeling like you were identifying.
Yeah. I was born in America, and I was raised in Southern California, and it was always kind of where I came out. It was never a place where I wanted to end up. I feel so blessed to have been raised there, and it's such a special, sacred space as well. The little area I was born and grown up at is very First Nation. It was very apparent the First Nation energy there of the native people, and you could feel it in the ground, you could feel it in the wind, you could feel it in the sun, everything there. And as much as modern day America tries to come in and do what it does, there's still like a very sacred energy where we grew up. When we were kids, we'd play in the canyons and play out in the fields and often find arrowheads and remnants of First Nation people there, So if anything, I feel by definition, since I was born in America, that, I'm Native American.
Yeah.
Whatever that means, in this time. And my family comes from Lebanon and Mexico on my mother's side and Denmark on my father's side.
Wow.
So I have this very kind of weird, interesting, trippy mutt mix, and also being born in America, it's kind of a melting pot of different cultures and people and energies and people with different agendas and people that are coming from all over the planet there. And I always believe that was one of the most beautiful things about America was that, it's this great kind of gumbo of soup, of mixes, and everything. But a lot of times energies clash there in ways that I never really vibed out with. And I'm a very sensitive man, so it was very challenging for me a lot of times growing up there. And it's such a masculine culture, whereas Indonesia in the East is kind of the yang to that yin, and it was the opposite. And I really enjoyed feeling that switch when I first came here. And it felt more conducive to who I was naturally as a person. Here, the men wear sarongs, and they're very soft. Everyone's playful, and the vibes.
Dude,
everyone is into ceremony, and spirituality comes first. A lot of times, life comes second.
And that really spoke to you immediately.
I've always felt God's presence from as far back as I can remember.
Like the feeling of a higher power or a spirit of the universe.
That, that feeling that we all feel, but we can't explain, but we know it's there. And the feeling of being protected or guided or, illuminated or blessed, my life has been such a blessing, I feel, for as far back as I can remember. Like kind of born blessed feeling.
Even the bad stuff?
It's only bad until you can like completely full circle it and see it in hindsight, it's been challenging. A lot of, I had, like any person, we all go through traumas, as children. And those are the kind of things that mold us and shape us into the beings that we are now. But I put in some work to try to get to where I'm at and get comfortable with a lot of things.
Do you mind if I ask how you did that? What was your modality for doing that? Was it religion? Was it yoga? Was it what was it? Was it various things?
I think it was the combination of different things. Art has played a really big key role in me expressing a lot of things that are inside of me that words can't. Where I feel like art is the great kind of equalizer for things where words can't really, the combination of words maybe, or like statements and stuff, but painting and drawing and music and movement and all these types of expressions that we can create as humans allow us to completely get out things that we can't just express with a phrase, or something.
And it gave you that outlet.
It gave me that outlet. And I really used it, and I feel like it used me. You know, it was a great kind of symbiotic relationship between art and life. You know, it's this dance of, if I was feeling something and I didn't know what to do with it, I could go to a surface or a piece of paper or a canvas or something and get out what was inside of me. And
here's a deep question. Did you ever feel like you're an instrument?
Of course.
For something else?
Completely. I definitely feel like an instrument.
So you were
for God.
You were the middle person.
Yeah, without a doubt. 100%.
Have you been successful with your art? Actually, that's not a best question. Like, how do you gauge success with your art?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you. What is your definition of success?
Yeah, that's what I'm curious. So, yeah, how do you gauge success with your art? Do you have a gauge for it?
I think the fact that I still am doing it is the success. The fact that I still am here creating is the success. You know, financially, a lot of people gauge success by finance these days, you know? And that's something that art, I think, I would never want to box it in to something to do with finances, you know, because it's so futuristic. It's our audiences aren't even born yet. You know, the art is light years ahead of us in this time and space, you know. Just for example, you know, all the great masters whose art that societies value, the majority of them never saw financial success while they were alive. You know, it was only after the fact. So for me, art is a way to be in this world, but yet still working for the afterlife. Dude, so that you have the ability to become immortal through the arts. And that, to me, is the greatest value of it. You know, finances and this stuff, it comes and goes, and it's some days like they're high tide, sometimes low tide. You know, some days you have plenty of money, but you don't have anywhere to spend it. Some days, you know, you have everything you want to spend it on, but no money to buy it with. You know, it's kind of a weird medium.
Like, you do have to be pragmatic about it because we all have to survive in this modern world that we're being forced to live in. I get that. But do you feel like if you're using that as your focus or a key focus point, your art will lose its authenticity?
I don't know if it would lose its authenticity. I think you would be able to feel the desire for money through it. You know, so for me, when I take my time on the art, and if I take my time, it becomes timeless. If I put a kind of a finished date on it to try to hit a mark and, you know, make sure my time is worth my value, you know, and all that stuff, it's like the universe will kind of cap it off at a certain price range, I've found.
Okay.
But I believe in abundance. And I believe wholly in abundance to my core. The abundance is something that I am very, very much a believer in. I've seen happen in a lot of different aspects in my life. And I don't think money has much to do with abundance. It's just a medium or an energy system. You know, and in the time now that's happening, you know, you can see the value of money. I'd much rather be wealthy in good vibes and positivity than money, you know.
Here's a question for you. Do you think that abundance is a byproduct of living your truth? I kind of feel like it is, because I agree with you. I can't believe you brought up abundance, because a good friend of mine and I have been talking about abundance a lot and what is it? And my son, his name's Otis, and that actually means to have an abundance of. And people
in
go,
what? In what language?
well, there you go. Oh, in what language?
No,
I think it's German.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That's
and
cool.
my wife picked that name. I love the name.
Yeah, that's
and people have said to me, like, well, abundance of what? And I said, well, abundance of love, abundance of kindness,
Right.
abundance of joy,
Yeah.
happiness. And I do struggle with abundance because I personally think that I'm not worthy of it sometimes. And I feel like...
I've felt that in my life at times too.
Have you?
Yes, I have. I definitely.
In what sort of stages? Like when you're is it after a breakup? Is it when you're having like struggles?
No, for me, it's more of the fact that I feel like when I truly open myself to abundance, things come very easily and very rapidly to the point where I end up stopping the flow of abundance because it's overwhelming.
Really?
Yeah. So, next thing I know, there'll be like, 6 people showing up at my door,
and they all want to do a podcast with you.
You know what I mean? And the energy I'll start attracting more than I can handle at the time. So I'll literally kind of almost cut off for a little bit because it's hard. Like I said, I'm sensitive. I can't deal with that much energy sometimes. So, I found just in our like birthright, because God has brought us into this space, we are already brought to this planet with full abundance. Abundance meaning there is more energy possibly coming towards us than we could ever use, right? Just for an example, like with one breath, if we could possibly bring in as much air in from the universe that we have access to, we can only bring in just a very limited amount, but it's way more than we could ever need. Right? So if you think about that same concept and apply it to every aspect in your life, whether it be finance, whether it be a space to live and breathe, a community, in family, in friends, in loved ones, there's way more coming at us than we could ever possibly cultivate or take in.
So there's like I guess using the lungs as an example, like humans often just inhale the bare minimum they need in that moment.
Right.
However, the capacity for our lungs to absorb 100 times more oxygen is vast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in ancient yogic scriptures, a lot of times that we believe that due to your actions in the past, you are brought to this earth with a certain designated amounts of breaths.
Right.
So some babies only live maybe for 2 breaths in a life. Some thousands of breaths, some only hundreds of breaths. And so the yogis found out ways to extend life by extending their amounts of breath. So right now when we're talking, we're working on very limited air supply, as opposed to if we just took a 3-minute inhalation, a 3-minute retention, and a 3-minute exhalation, 1 breath.
Yeah.
Right? So you apply that, and that's the beauty of abundance, where we only need, let's say we only need maybe a small meal to function, but yet we have masses of amounts of food that we have the ability to cultivate and eat, and
it's true, bro.
But where the kind of the ability to take it in is due to consciousness and your ability. Are you conscious of all the abundance God is giving you, or do you only want to get abundance? Does your ego only want to get abundance from a certain way?
Yeah.
And this, like, I gave up on making a living from my art because that was my ego wanting to only receive financial payment through my art.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I am open to receiving universal payments from anywhere in any way that has to do with righteousness.
Dude, that's so epic.
That's it.
Like, is it safe to say that to receive abundance, we have to surrender. So that's how I'm actually interpreting what you're saying, and
Maybe
that's the energy I'm getting off it. Like,
if you're trying to direct too much, then to balance it, you might need to surrender more.
Surrender more, yeah.
Yeah. If you're surrendered too much, maybe in order to stay balanced, you need to direct your energy more. Whatever is balanced for you.
Okay.
I feel personally, in my own personal experience with abundance. So a lot of times in my past, I would self-sabotage myself in order to kind of stay in a space that was safe and comfortable, familiar, But that cycle at some point didn't serve me anymore. It didn't serve my higher self. And in order for me to receive different types of energies, I had to do different things. I feel like the definition of insanity is to do the same result or the same actions and expect different results.
Yeah.
So that was the beauty of coming to Bali 7 years ago. It was a way kind of to look at my life at that point and make some really deep, hard decisions and see if I was planting the seeds that were going to serve my future.
Yeah.
And I wasn't at the time. I was serving someone else's idea of what they wanted for me and my future.
Dude, like seriously, like I'm sitting here, I'm losing my mind because like this podcast journey, again, I keep saying this, but like these common themes keep arising.
Is that one of them?
And one of them is like this notion of getting out of your comfort zone and adopting a growth mindset. They're quite common themes. But like another one that's really has been coming up a lot lately is this notion of being your authentic self, okay, putting your ego aside, surrendering to the universe and not trying to control too much. And again, like you've sort of just really described those things really clearly and well again, and I feel like that ability and willingness to turn inward sometimes is super powerful. Because I know for me, like I was actually really living in like a victim mentality for a lot of my life. Like it was always like, oh, nothing can go right for me. I had a hard childhood. Right. I got, this guy got the job. I should have got it. I got ripped off again.
Right.
And but what I've realized is that mentality was actually keeping me safe because it was familiar. Okay. And it's actually scary to actually like change that and go, no, look, I'm not a victim. I've got to think and change my perspective in order to grow.
There was a question I asked myself. I don't know when or why or what, but there was one question I asked myself at one time that I said, am I more scared to live or to die? And it
love that. And
it became almost to the point where like, just don't be scared.
Yeah.
Like this life is for you. This is our opportunity. This is our time. This is the kind of the third quarter of our life here, where we made it through that first stage. We came into the second, and it's about realizing what an opportunity we have here on earth. Our time here is so limited.
It's finite, man.
It's finite. And I feel if we realize that, if we truly realize how special this time is here, in this body, in this space, in this time,
you're not giving up any breaths.
No. You give up less and less and less each day, and you slowly realize like, wow, this is a really special.
But you still experience feelings of fear and anxiety, surely.
Of course.
Would you mind sharing like strategies for managing those feelings? Do you have any in particular, or?
Well, of course. I recently just started experiencing anxiety attacks. I never had experienced them, and my friend, one of my close friends, he experienced them a lot, and I was always kind of like, man, what do you? Yeah, like, are you serious, really? And then I had one the other night. I woke up in the middle of the night and I just felt trapped in my own chest. And I had this like trapped feeling. And I had to get up and walk outside and like really take some deep breaths. And I had never had one of those experiences before. And I feel our feelings are guides for where our heart should be. So I feel like when we have an anxiety attack, or what I experienced from it was me not paying attention to the downloads God gave me.
I can't believe you said that, because I was about to jump in and go, I once heard someone say, when you have an anxiety attack, it's an indicator that you're moving away from God.
Exactly. And so that's what God needed to show me in order to pay attention to what I wasn't listening to. And so the second I acknowledged and apologized to the greater forces, the energy left. But me being kind of stubborn in my ways, I didn't really take action towards the download that I was getting. I just continued my way. And so I would never want to get comfortable with anxiety. It's always a sign for me to go deeper inside and figure out what's really going on.
So you're addressing it.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is people don't address it. And then what happens is it reoccurs. But then that behavior pattern is actually programmed neurologically.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to what you said before, becomes a safe, familiar emotion, feeling.
Yeah.
And then maybe our brains or our spirits default back to it. And that's why people are having anxiety disorder. Maybe. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I have talked a lot about it.
Yeah.
And I have thought a lot about it because I know so many people who have been debilitated by it. You know?
Well, it's a very physical thing, and I never realized how physical it was. I always thought it to be kind of a psychological thing, but when the mind is a very powerful force. It's one of the most powerful forces on the planet, is the mind. And so when it really unleashes, it can be debilitating, it can be crippling. It can keep you from achieving your destiny, and these things that you're here to do, right? So I really have to go in there when that happens. I really have to go in there and check things out and ask the questions and see what's going on in there, like really try to figure it out. And meditation helps, these practices of surfing and these rituals that we do really help me to go in there. And then once I'm in there, it's one thing to see it. It's another thing to actually take action. And
totally.
To have that strength and willpower of spirit and soul power to really take action on the things that are coming in is very important to me. And I used to numb it with substances and with activities and mundane things that just didn't serve me. And I kind of gave up on the numbing vibes.
How is that working out for you?
It's been actually really great, to be honest with you. I stopped drinking alcohol maybe 4 years ago.
Amazing.
And I was drinking a lot of beers at the time. And
keep going.
And numbing certain feelings that I wasn't really willing to go into yet. I didn't feel comfortable going into them, so I would just numb them out instead of feeling them. And it got to a point where my father saw me and he said, "Hey man, are you okay? Do you need some time to get it together? I'll help you out." And he gave me, just him acknowledging it and giving me a space was enough energy and enough love for me to go, look, I need to hit the switch. And it wasn't full addiction vibes or anything like that. It just wasn't me at my best. And I wanted to be the best version of myself.
Yeah,
I could as a way to honor the gods, for giving me this life.
Yeah, bro. Oh man.
And then as soon as that happened, all these amazing things started taking off. So the download I got from God was, God said, "Hey, if you take one step closer to me, I'll take thousands of steps closer to you. But you just have to just meet me in some space, right? And that was that first step towards getting somewhat sober, and then slowly it just kind of petered off. And like I was saying earlier, I came to this island with so much baggage and so much conditioning, and the download I got from Bali and the frequency here was, hey, we love you. We think you're amazing. We'd love to have you, but this isn't working for us. This definitely isn't working here. This hasn't been working for you for a long time. I don't think it's going to work here for you. And we'd love for you to stay. And if you stay, we'll replace it with all of this. Abundance, and stuff that's more for where you want to be heading, and who we think you are, But, if you want, you can always go back to where you came from. Yeah. And it was a very clear energy with the island here. And it had to do with respect and being respectful of the local people and the culture and their way of life, and not trying to bring my way to it, but me surrendering, like you said earlier, into their existence. And it was just what I needed. Profound. Yeah. Yeah, man. It was a slowing way down of the frequency.
Just going back to the alcohol thing, like, I'm 7 years sober myself. Oh, wow. And I feel like... Congratulations. Thanks, bro. Yeah. I think... And one thing I've observed, I numbed out from a very young age. And so for me, like, once I stopped drinking, which I thought was going to be the hard part, I was completely wrong, because once I actually was able to actually like get over that compulsion to want to keep drinking, the real work started, and it's become very apparent to me that, life just got super raw. I just started feeling everything. Right. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I got all these feelings. I started crying in like commercials on TV. Right. The music was a bit emotional. Like, I just got exactly what you mean. And I'm still on it because, like I hadn't actually grown emotionally since I was young, Yeah. But I see with a lot of people, whether it's alcohol that they put down, or if it's drugs or sex or addiction to technology or whatever shopping. The medium is, I think when a decision of that kind is made in any type, alcohol or whatever, I feel like that for many people is that first step in self-honesty and on embarking on a journey of self-honesty. Yep. And I feel like that's when you keep using, you say God, or that's when the magic or the universe starts to provide, okay? Because it's like, all right. And you said it like God says, like, you just need to come a little bit and I'll come 10 steps. You come one step, I'll come 10. Yeah. I've actually never heard it described like that, and I absolutely fucking love it, dude. Like, that's gonna stick with me.
Try it. Try it. Yeah. You cannot. I don't know. I can only talk from my own experience, because I feel like we have such a personal relationship with ourselves, and the last thing I would ever want to see is someone who is dependent on some kind of substance or activity or anything. Everyone knows their edges, or they're looking for them, right? So I definitely saw the edge of the cliff, and I saw where it could go from there, and that wasn't the direction I wanted to be heading. And it would have been such a waste for me to kind of do that, right?
Dude, I always felt that even in my darkest hours. I felt that I still never. I've hit various rock bottoms in my life, but I still, even in those, I still felt this inner light that still really was like, no, you've got to get through. You've got to get through this. Yeah. And I sometimes wonder, like, for some people who end up delving beyond that into worse places than maybe that I went, I just wonder, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud here, but I just wonder if they've completely lost that inner voice. I don't know. It's just an observation.
Well, a lot of I was listening to Russell Brand. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Legend.
My sister sent me over one of his quotes, and I can't exactly, but it was something along the lines of, in our society, we don't treat the trauma, we just treat the addiction. So we don't treat the trauma that caused us to go to these addictions. We just want to treat the addiction. So for me, it became very apparent that I was numbing something from my childhood that at the time I didn't even really know what it was. But it was later on I found out what it was, and how magic's this right now? It just started raining.
So nice, man.
Yeah.
That cool breeze, bro.
And the therapeutic aspects of rain is
I don't know them. What are they? Do you know it?
For me, this washes it all away, you know.
Do you think the world needs that right now?
I don't even know what's going on in that world out there, and a lot of times I don't really want to know what's going on in there because it doesn't apply to me in this.
Dude, you said that to me the other day. I seen you, and I was like, "Hey, dude, I want to talk to you." And you went to shake my hand. I went to shake your hand. I'm like, "Do you shake hands?" He's like, "Yeah, dude. Like, I don't give a fuck about this shit." Like, and you're like, you just straight away went, "That doesn't apply to me." I just went, "Okay, cool." Like,
and I don't know if I'm being naive or if I don't know if I'm being ignorant.
That's what I'm worried about.
But I'd rather focus on the things that I feel closest to my heart, you know, and that whole.
What's your heart telling you right now?
About what?
I don't want to go into it.
About the world out
about
there?
the let's just call it the current status of the world.
Yeah.
What is your energy, or what is your heart saying right now? Just
my heart says that a lot of people didn't get the downloads and they need the anxiety attack, right? Like that's the vibe. I feel like how much further could we actually really go down this road, you know, with the way things are heading and the way the current situation is, right? And where our attentions are and what we put value on and what we don't put value on as a collective, global kind of consciousness. I don't feel that's what the gods want right now, you know? And all these little power plays with governments and, you know, all this shit that's happening out there. I don't even think that's the I don't think that's the picture we should focus on right now. You know, I noticed just in seeing less airplanes here, the air quality is like the vibratory rate has changed out there.
Oh man, I noticed it.
Can you feel it?
Dude, like,
I mean, that's just one thing out of all this, right?
Dude, I paddled out today at Temples and there's no one in the water at Uluwatu. I mean, it was a small day.
It was kind of spooky, right?
It was spooky. So I decided to just for some exercise to paddle like all the way down to like racetrack.
Yeah.
And to see no one. But like you talk about the vibrations, like I felt this feeling of complete serenity and peace that I actually haven't felt at Uluwatu before over the years, because even when it's small surf, there's always an intensity with large amounts of people.
It's mostly when it's small.
And then when it's big, there's another type of intensity, a real intensity. Yeah. So there's anxiety there. I'm surfing with anxiety for that. But
I'd much rather have that anxiety than the crowd anxiety.
But and I just went, in my mind, I just kept thinking like this, if this isn't one of the biggest lessons to the world of just reminding everyone we have no control. Yeah. Because I've actually currently been trying to control something in my life and situations in my life. And I've had to completely surrender to it. And so even though I keep trying to think, I surrender to the world, man. Yeah. But now I'm being tested. Yeah. And I wasn't. I was trying to still manipulate control. Yeah. And I feel like it's a bloody good lesson.
You know, there's an illusion as if we're being tested, right? Because I don't feel like God would ever want to test anything. You know, it's not in God's nature to like put tests on us, right? God, I feel, always wants us to celebrate and to be in a state of like a celebratory state, like a state of something larger than life, like coming outside of ourselves in a way to honor the absolute more than our human capabilities are taking in, right? And so if we get in, there's so much human stuff happening right now in the world, so much divide and conquer and fear and, people making these power plays and moves. And it's like people playing chess with other people's lives, And I don't know. It's not something that's in my consciousness. I can't really fathom what's the motivation behind these people, but there's a whole aspect of this world that I don't understand, and nor do I really even want to.
Yeah, man.
It doesn't really apply to me in that space. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And
so at some point I have to draw a line, and
like a line as in like, how much of this am I going to let affect me?
Exactly. And how much of myself am I going to subject myself to?
Yeah.
Because it's all self-induced, right? When you say we don't have the ability to control, I feel like we do have the ability to control what we can control.
Gotcha.
Right? So our mind is something that we have a potential to control.
Totally, man.
Our spirit might be on its own kind of ride. Our soul might be coming and going through the journey of this, lives and birth and rebirth and dimensions and all this shit, So, but our consciousness and our mind, we have the ability to control that. And I feel like that's a really beautiful blessing that gods have given us.
I agree. I do agree. And like right at the start, you said that you might be you're a sensitive person. And you feel energies
definitely
of other people a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that's...
in a very empathic way.
Empathic way.
Yeah.
Okay, would you say you're an empath?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I am too.
Yeah.
And I, for many, many years, and it's only been until recently, I've realized that I used to think that it was to my detriment and that it was a defect of character. And I spoke to this guy recently, Edward Dangerfield, who's he's a breathwork specialist. He believes in the healing powers of specific breathwork, and he goes into the neuroscience of it, and it's amazing, But it's also very closely linked to spirituality. But he was talking about how he describes himself as a HSP.
What's a HSP?
Highly sensitive person. I was like,
I've never heard that.
When he said that, I was like, what's a HSP? He just made it up. I was like, oh, that's funny. But he was saying how, for many years, he was highly affected by other people, and he would be very prone to holding resentments against others, and then the resentments would consume him, and then because they were consuming him, that would lead him to numbing behaviors and activities. And what he feels he's done now, he's identified it, and he's realized it's his superpower. Yeah. And someone years ago once said to me, "Oh, Shannon, you're too emotional," it was a bad thing. And I was like, okay. And I said, well, how do I get through this life? And they said, move towards the energy. And it really spoke to me because I'm a surfer. If you want to propel forward down the wave, you have to turn back towards the energy.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And I just went, for me, that metaphor and analogy, I just went, oh, dude. Yeah. And I'm really personally working on trying to turn what you're talking into my superpower. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people out there who would feel the same way. And I think an extreme empath is someone who's really just controlled by it. Yeah. But I think
they are superpowers,
You think so?
Definitely, without a doubt. I feel like we're all X-Men in our own kind of way, and I'm not good at what you're at, and you might not be as great as what I feel my strong suit is, but together, if we combine forces, we get a wholer power center, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so that's the beauty of coming together versus, this divide and conquer vibe of I can't even touch your hand right now. And we need hugs and physical connection more than ever in this times,
How long are people going to sustain this self-isolation? I mean, it's gnarly.
It's gnarly.
You have a significant other.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky because I've got significant others and kids. Yeah. But it's imagine the amount of people out there who have no one and they're alone anyway. Yeah. I'm just...
I spend a lot of, I've spent many years of my life alone, by choice, of self-isolation, because I had a hard time. My sensitive self would have a hard time just dealing with my own energy. Like I have a really challenging time just dealing with the own stuff that's coming through me versus energy coming through.
Yeah.
So I found when I was by myself, the downloads would come from God in a cleaner way than if it would come through someone to me.
Yeah.
In a way.
So when you use the term God,
yep.
Do you identify with a religious denomination?
No.
Okay.
Yep. I wouldn't say that I do.
Just checking.
The closest thing I would ever say coming to a religion is either the ocean or the arts.
Yeah.
Those are my two,
I can
kind
tell,
of doctrines,
I can tell,
the Church
man.
of the Open Sky. My friend Nathan, made this movie called The Church of the Open Sky, and that terminology really resonated with me because I grew up going to a Catholic school.
Okay.
And I used to get in trouble for laughing during church. And I used to get sent to the back of the church and have to sit in the pews by myself with the other boys that couldn't stop laughing.
Was this in Southern California?
This was in Southern
Which
California.
part of Southern California specifically?
In a town called Chula Vista.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I grew up...
Where were you surfing growing up? Did you surf much?
I didn't surf much. I boogie boarded when I was really little, and in a beach called Imperial Beach, which is the most southernest beach in Southern California. It's right on
past
the border.
San Diego?
The south, you could
on
see
the other
the
side
border.
of San Diego.
Yeah.
Wow.
You could literally paddle across the border from where we surfed.
No way.
And it was really an experience growing up there because of it was a really heavy kind of beach breaky kind of thing, so it was good for bodyboarding. And my mom would take my friends and me and just kind of drive us down to the beach and set us up in front of the lifeguard tower and ask them to keep an eye on us and give us a bagged lunch and our boogie boards. And we would kind of do the all day at the beach vibes. And she'd pick us up after work, and drive us home. And back then it was still really safe for that. And then when high school kind of came around, I kind of stopped bodyboarding and got into skateboarding. And then I came into surfing kind of later in life, around 22 years old.
It's so funny. Same. I grew up in a beach town, a beach area. All my friends surfed, but I was like, nah, it's all about skateboarding.
Yeah.
But so I used to dabble in it as a teenager, but it wasn't until I was early 20s, 20. I just went all in on it. Just went, what am I doing?
I mean, when I found it later, it was exactly what I needed at exactly the right time.
Same.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And it's funny, I really got into it. I had a bit of a foundation, so I wasn't a complete beginner. But I lived and worked in Colorado for 6 months, and then I was I think I was 24.
Were you snowboarding a lot?
I lived in a place called Breckenridge, and I was working in a restaurant at night, snowboarding all day. I was seriously the best year of my life.
Right.
And then my friends and I bought a car, and we drove from San Francisco down the PCH into Baja, all the way down Baja Peninsula, put the car on a ferry, surfing the whole way down, car on a ferry at La Paz, and then all the way down to Puerto Escondido. It took us 3 months.
That's a trip.
Dude, and it was...
That's sacred.
I felt like I think about those times, it was like a big dream. It was just so magical.
Yeah.
But
how'd you like Baja?
it was wild, dude.
Baja's
that
magical,
Highway
right?
1, it was cactus and there was nothing around, and everyone was like, "You guys are crazy. You're gonna get hijacked." And you know, and we had Colorado plates, and we had one Irish, one American, one Australian. You know, but like just targets.
Yeah,
we had zero problems. Actually, we had problems. We had girl problems.
Yeah,
we were 20. Well, we know early. I was like 23, 24. It was like this weird combination of all the things that a young three guys were hoping. We had everything happen on that trip in good ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That was kind of like our like backyard was Baja, you know, and we'd load our trucks up
was
with
it Rosalita and then What's that place?
Rosarito.
Rosarito. Would you go
Further, like to the Seven Sisters, halfway down to like Natividad, and
it's raw down there. I have no idea how raw. It's still raw. It has to be.
It's still raw. It's magical.
Yeah.
It's dangerous, but the vibes. I think if you go on vibes, you can stay positive. If you get yourself in with the wrong kind of vibes, there you can easily go. Yeah. It can go bad.
Yeah, I think
anywhere, right?
It's true. And, it's funny, even as a kid, like I always used to be really sensitive to like if I was, walking home or skating home from the skate park and I'd see someone on the other side of the street, I would just go, they're sketchy. And I would just cross the street. Like I was always that guy going, if I was with friends and we were out at night and there was something going on, I'd be like, hey guys, let's go this way. I was always that guy.
Yeah.
And again, I'm wondering if that was just my hypersensitivity. I don't know.
I mean, who knows how much generational energy that is,
Generational energy.
Yeah.
Passed on.
Yeah.
That's interesting because both my grandparents on my mother's and my father's side were veterans of world wars. And you're talking about trauma.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's intergenerational trauma passed down.
Oh, definitely.
So, is it in the DNA? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not a scientist, so I don't know much about that, but I do know on the energetics, I can feel it. And I put in work with my family lineage kind of stuff, and, it's real. It's definitely real. It's definitely real. And it's beautiful, it's a beautiful kind of way to honor the ancestors, and the ancestors honor us. It's a symbiotic relationship, the way we carry on the lineage and they pass on the lineage, so it's this beautiful kind of dance between past generations and future generations, and everybody standing on the shoulders of everyone,
Yeah, man.
And so I'm sure you know this more as a father. I don't know what it's like to be a father, but I do know what it's like to be a son. And so I think we would hope to receive the positive things from our ancestors and not have to carry on the negative aspects of the lineage. I don't know, how is it passing that? Do you find that interesting when you...
I mean, here's a question for you. Like, do we have to suffer to grow? Or do we have to suffer? Like,
no.
Yeah. But I kind of feel like a lot of people feel that to receive abundance, okay, whether it be financial or anything, that you have to go through a degree of suffering or a paying of the dues.
No.
And I don't know if that's just a really archaic mentality, but
that's the program, right?
Yeah, but but
if you dissolve the sufferer, then there is no possible way to ever suffer.
If you dissolve the sufferer, okay,
then there's no way to suffer.
Okay, well, how do you do that? By being more spiritual?
Not more spiritual, but just spirituality has a little bit to do. It's about releasing the masks that the ego creates. And that, because what's suffering, one of my friends made this really beautiful movie called Chasing the Present. And in this movie, they had a conversation about this. And this is where I received this information from. One of the gurus in the movie speaks about dissolving the sufferer. And what is actually suffering is the attachment to the mask that the ego wears. So your true self can never suffer, because there's liberation in that. What's suffering is the attachment to all the things that go with that. And once you release that completely release it, not just in theory, then there's, the suffering has to do with the attachment and the inability to evolve towards where God wants us to be.
Yeah. And maybe that attachment is to things like expectations, desires, and feelings of maybe losing something.
Yeah.
Dude.
I find that a lot, you know. Dude,
It's good.
That's good.
It's good.
You know, I find that a lot of how do I still be authentic without losing parts of myself that I feel really connected with. Because at some point you can just kind of go like, all right, let's just like let it all go, you know? And then you're kind of out in this new space trying to get some type of foundation again to then build that attachment, right? You know, and the ego is so wild because it can fractal and manipulate and be sneaky and all this, you know, and it's ever changing and never stable and always evolving and
Based in fear.
You know.
Do you have a morning routine? And I mean, aside from early surfs,
I do.
But would you mind sharing it?
Yeah.
Like, is it a breathing practice? Is it a yoga practice?
No, my main thing these days is to get up and go first thing to the ocean.
Is that because you can easily at the moment?
Yeah, but no matter where I'm at on the planet, the first thing I do is go to the ocean, even if it's like a half-hour drive or something. Like if I don't end up going, my whole day is like kind of off.
Gotcha.
You know, so here I feel so blessed. I'm about, 20 feet away from the ocean these days, and I just have to see it. I don't even have to go out there. I just have to see the blue line and just get that type of expansive energy, and then I feel like, okay, I can go start my day with it. I usually start with some type of liquid like tea or coconut water or something just to break the hydration from the sleep thing. Yeah. I usually run pretty hot, so I have to stay hydrated most of my day.
Yeah, gotcha.
And if not, I could be here on the cliff in front of the Indian Ocean, looking out at the tropics, but energetically, my physical body could be out in the desert somewhere, like looking for an oasis due to dehydration.
Gotcha.
And if we're not hydrated, I feel like the synapses and the energy signals don't have the ability to connect, and you feel disorientation. You don't have power behind your movements. Your thoughts go in and they don't make sense.
Yeah.
There's no conductivity between thought and physics.
Yeah, exactly.
On just a scientific, like energetic,
purely physiological. I get it. It's like it's a body mind connect.
So first thing I have to do is just like get hydrated in the morning, and then I usually either go surf or start working on some type of art stuff. Yeah,
I had a naturopath once tell me that I wasn't hydrating properly.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? I'm drinking like 3 liters of water a day and stuff. She's like, how often are you pissing? I was like, about 10 times a day. She's like, okay, well, you're missing minerals and stuff. And, since living in Bali for the last couple of years, it's I take it really serious.
You have to here, right?
Yeah, and I must admit, when I'm hydrating well, I'm on my game as a teacher, as a father, as a husband, as a friend.
Yes.
But when I have days like exactly what you said, it's like I get really like my thoughts get so like discombobulated, and I get really confused.
You're out there,
but then I get moody.
Yeah, and then you get agitated,
and that has other knock-on effects. Yeah. And it all comes down to that water.
Yep.
I put Himalayan rock salt, the pink salt, in my water.
That's it, right? That's the
game
stuff.
changer.
That's the stuff.
As soon as I wake up, boom.
Yeah.
Liter of that, and then have some breakfast, then do another liter.
Because if you're drinking a lot of water without any that's the first thing I notice when I go from Indonesia to California is the water quality.
Okay.
The government pumps so much chlorine into the water out there. It's not even really water anymore.
In California.
Yeah. Because most of our water source, California is a desert.
Yeah.
Desert by the ocean.
Doesn't it come from Canada or something?
It comes from Colorado.
It comes from Colorado.
It's piped all the way from Colorado, and it's mixed with local water sources, but there's not enough to supply the need for it. So they have to contract it out. And by the time it comes over, in order for it to be treated, in order for it to be drinkable, they pump stuff in it. you know. And
I've actually heard that can then actually leach minerals from your body.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was just going to say.
Oh, sorry.
Is it can actually stress your body as opposed to mineralizing it, you know? So the things you're doing with a little bit of pinch in there,
big difference.
Game
you think?
changer.
Yeah.
Game changer.
I mean, I even noticed it in Bali, like if I buy a particular brand of water that you have to have in your filter compared to another brand that is,
you could feel it, right?
I notice it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's pretty wild.
It's wild.
It's wild. So I think there's this combination between like actual like energy and then physics and science, you know, of like, it's one thing to have all these energy systems around you, but it's another thing to be able to tap into them.
Mm.
And if we're not in some type of optimal space, you know, we don't even have the ability to access the energy.
No, we don't.
And you become like a pawn on someone else's chessboard instead of you moving your own pieces around and taking control of your own actions and your own thoughts and your own well-being and all these things and having that responsibility of it.
Yeah, man. It's so true. I love it, dude.
It's wild. It's wild.
It is wild.
It's wild.
And
so with these things that are happening in this time right now, you know, I feel a lot of that is kind of coming to a head, you know, and people that have, all of us, you know, like I've noticed things within myself that I've really had to change during these times.
Yeah, I want to go back to that a little bit because I identify with your approach to it. And I did immediately when you wanted to shake my hand, because I'm feeling really confused because I don't feel like I have a lot of fear in me about what's going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a product of maybe I've done some work over the last few years of my life. I don't know, but then I'm confused because because I'm not scared? Is it because am I being ignorant? Am I ignorant? Am I being irresponsible?
Right.
But I'm just working off how I feel. I'm exposed to the same information that we're all being filtered and delivered. So it's been very hard. And then because I have children, I'm feeling like, well, am I being responsible? You know? And it's a tough. I don't know. It's like, well, should I be scared so I can empathize with other people?
Right,
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I feel
help me. Tell me what to do.
Yeah, I'm definitely not an expert. I'm definitely not going to tell you anything what to do on this one. I can just kind of tell you the vibes I've been feeling is like, I feel like we kind of have to take the storms as they come, you know. And when we're looking at these swells coming on the charts, and sometimes they're going to be 30 foot, 20 foot by the time they show, and where everyone's all freaking out and they're like, oh my God, the swell of the year. And then it shows up and it's just like a normal swell. Yeah. You know, and it's cool.
And you flew across the world for it.
And you flew across for it and it's great and it's that, but it's not the big hype that they're selling to us.
Overhype.
You know? Yeah. I feel like the same people that are selling the pandemic energy are the same people selling the pills to get you off the pandemic vibes. You know,
I can't help feeling the same, but I'm scared to say those things out loud to people because there's so much emotion attached. You
don't have to say it, you know. I don't really share it. It's just an energy vibe, you know. I feel like this stuff's wild.
It is, and I'm not saying it's not serious.
Oh, it's serious. But if you actually look at real things that are hitting the planet and humans, like on the day, I heard there was like thousands of people a day dying from hunger-related death, you know. So it's a big kind of media vibe, and I wonder what they're really selling us. You know, what are they selling? The crash? They're selling the economical crash. You know, are they selling the military vibes? You know, who knows these days, right? And who really cares at that point? I think we just got to focus on what's important, you know?
Yeah, I keep going back to like, imagine we didn't have these things like mobile phones or computers, which I've got both in front of me right now. And we didn't have access to those things.
Which a lot of times you don't.
You don't? Okay, yeah. Or if you didn't, and so like, what would you be gauging your how would you be gauging this situation? And I think you would be forced to gauge this situation on your immediate environment.
Right.
So for me personally, right now, my immediate environment is telling me that I'm safe.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't see anyone sick.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that knows anyone that is sick.
Right.
Okay.
You're looking at it via satellite.
Exactly. So if my neighbor was really unwell, I'd be like, oh, okay, my immediate environment is telling me that I'm not in a safe place.
Yeah.
It's that primal.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to downplay the severity of what's going on, because I do understand epidemiology a little bit, and there's a big spike in the data which has caused
the fear,
the issuing of a pandemic. I get that 100%. But what I do feel, and I think a lot of people would agree, is that technology is perpetuating mass fear. Definitely.
And the virus feeds off fear, so the best thing you can do for your nervous system to raise your energetic level, the most healthiest thing you can do for your nervous system is just to relax. When you're in a state of fear and you're in a state of worry and you're in a state of that, your energetic frequency comes way down, and the powers at hand know that,
and become more susceptible.
And that's how they control, is by putting the hysteria out first to prep and lower the frequency. Then the pandemic comes in and attacks the people with the lowest vibratory rate. They're going to get hit with it first. And maybe it's a shakedown, right? Maybe I don't know, but that's just a fact so stay relaxed, stay focused, stay
physically it's better for your immune system.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
But that's like, and I resonate with your guys' energy on a different level. I could feel your resonance with I have a light being that I have to look after. I brought these angels through me, and I'm responsible for them in that way. But I also believe that God won't give you anything that you weren't meant to handle. Right.
Love that.
So for me, that I have to at some point really go into that, and both ways, right? When you get something that is an opportunity to go into it,
Dude, I feel like you'd be the raddest dad ever. Is that in your? Do you think being a father is? Do you want that to be part of your journey?
I would feel that's the goal, right?
Yeah. Because I'll be honest, I didn't have that goal for many years.
It comes in phases for me. It comes in waves. I often have dreams of me holding my unborn child. When I'm making love to a woman, I can feel my unborn son on the other side being, is it time to come through? Is it time to come through?
Yeah.
And me being like, I don't know on this one, I don't think this is the time. And I freak out because next thing I know, I'm like, so I've just kind of been waiting for the wave on that one. Do you feel that?
I understand, dude. Okay. It's good. Yeah. I never actually felt, I was never one of those people through most of my life who felt like they wanted children. And then until I met my wife, and then I felt like I wanted children. But even then I was like, I'm not quite ready for many years of our relationship. Funny story, went on a surf trip to the Mentawais, and I was surfing macaronis, and I took one in too far, and I went to pull through the back, and it sucked me over the falls backwards. Listen to this, dude. Slammed me on the reef on my ass, and a jagged bit of reef hit me square on the gooch, like like right between right. Anyway, and I just came out like and to be honest, I've got back pain at the moment, and I don't know if it's from that, but anyway. I came out, I popped up to the surface, just going, I broke my back. Like I've hurt myself. Someone help me. So I get to the boat, and I'm like, I was able to get on the boat. I was like, quickly realized that I was okay. But dude, my balls swelled up to the size of like a grapefruit. And then subsequent.
They got hit by the
Yeah, dude, like that whole zone was just like out of commission, right? I'm telling you a true story. And I just went, oh man, like, fuck, I'm done. And then it wasn't, and then for the next week afterwards, like things weren't working down there at all. And I just went, in those moments, I never wanted a kid more than I ever wanted a kid. Like, I need a baby right now. Because I realized that all of a sudden I was like, I could maybe not do this.
Yeah.
And it was like, I feel like it was the universe's way of just giving me a little slapping. Okay, it's time now.
Yeah.
It's time to have your child. And it was profound,
That's
bro.
wild.
It's a good, I love that so
I've
much.
always really wanted to have it happen organically. You know, I've never wanted to try to force to have children or anything, because I know how special they really are, you know, and I know that once they're here, and it doesn't take, you know, it's special, you know, the kid, they're really special.
They are, bro.
They're light, they're angels, you know.
Well, someone told me once that your children pick you don't pick your children.
Yeah.
And actually, as a parent, that kind of changes the game because as a parent, I know for me, I can't speak for everyone, you spend a lot of time feeling guilty.
Yeah.
Like, am I good enough?
Yeah.
Am I harming them?
Yeah.
And I don't mean physically, but am I harming them by not giving them enough attention?
Exactly.
Or, you know, they were doing something naughty and you had to raise your voice at them. Yeah. And so you spend a lot of time in this cycle of guilt and extreme love. Like, so,
to compensate for the guilt.
Yeah. You're like, I mean, innately, like, before I had kids, I'd seen friends with kids, and I used to think I knew what it was like. I was like, oh, I know what it's like to have kids. But until you are, you know, you see that childbirth experience and you hold that baby. It's like this part of your brain has been waiting to be opened up, and you're part of your soul that you've probably experienced extreme feelings of love towards someone, whether it's a family member or a new girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. But it's like, this is a new chemical.
Yeah.
It's a new chemical.
And I feel that. And I feel that from what you just explained. I could feel that energy, you know, and I really want to experience that. But I want it to be with the right woman, you know, I really do. And it's important to me because I really want to me, the most saddest feeling I've ever felt is to be lying in bed next to a woman, but yet still feel alone.
Yeah, dude. I've been there.
That one, like, talk about anxiety.
It's the worst.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
And I really want to be able, so many of my friends and so many people I know are in marriages kind of as like partnerships or like an agreement, and they're just putting in time till the kids get to be old enough to where they can kind of like go do their thing, you know. And that to me is not my vision of it.
It's good you identify it.
Yeah,
it's really good you identify it, and I see it too. I think it's a safety thing based on fear.
I want to feel that like soulmate, soul connection, you know, and have a child come through that. Yeah.
And I mean, and that is like relinquishing control there, because I mean, you can't manufacture that.
Nah.
But I think people do try to manufacture it.
Yeah.
But then I get confused, because then now that I've had kids and I see other people and I understand what a sheer gift it is, then I can't help thinking, well, those people who are together that aren't really happy with each other, they were meant to be together because there's this beautiful gift in the world now because of them. Yeah. So maybe
it's a win-win,
to
right?
flip it. Maybe it's like those people are meant to be together.
That's it.
But they've just got to work on some shit with themselves individually. Yeah. It's just an observation. I don't know.
And you know, I think through relationships we find out most about ourselves, right? Kinda.
Totally.
Or at least you get a bigger glimpse. Oh, there's some reflection that your partner, that gives you that the mirror can't.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's
and I'm sure your children is another level of that, right? The reflection.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I say this to a lot of people. I feel like my kids have actually taught me more. They've just taught me about who I am, because they'll do something and you'll see them do something and you go, I do that. Like my daughter picks her nose.
Yep.
Because she's seen me doing it. Like they become this sheer reflection of you, like good and bad.
Yeah.
You know, like my little son right now, he's crazy. Like he will run through this place and anything valuable he'll just throw on the ground and whatever. But like that's
how gorgeous is he though?
Dude, I mean, I'm biased, but yeah. But
they're
I was
little
exactly
light beings, but you don't want them to lose that.
You don't, but that's pretty much what I've been like my whole life, just this frenetic energy of just like like I can't sit still, whatever. Right. And now I'm actually like sometimes like reprimanding him for it. But like then as I do it with like this sense of like, no, but that's exactly what I do, even as an adult. Yeah. So it becomes
that's what I was talking about earlier about that generational pass on kind of thing. It was like so we receive these characteristics from our parents, and who knows how many generations back that energy comes from.
Yeah.
And who knows what it's trying to work through and work towards in your body and your son's body, and this as a medium, and the combination of you two with that synergy. What an amazing, like, if you really think about how incredible a birth it is that you two found each other in this space and time.
Totally.
What an opportunity, right?
Yeah,
what an incredible opportunity for two, even just on a soul level or a spirit level, that your son found you as a father and everything that you're doing, and you found him as a son. And it's like, whoo.
But that philosophy has been super healing for me as a parent to hear that your child chooses you because they need to learn something off you. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's part of their journey. And it just kind of makes me feel like, well, just reminds me like I am who I am.
Right.
Okay. Good and bad.
Yep.
I've had these experiences in my life that I can't change, and they have shaped me to where I am at the moment. And it actually just inspires me to maintain it or chase a path of righteousness.
Yeah.
And
be the best version of yourself.
Be the best version. And that's where I think kids are so good for that. Like I've got a mate, sorry to keep talking.
No.
A mate of mine in Australia, he's an amazing surfer. And then he had kids. And then he just stopped surfing, like because he was busy with kids, which I now understand. But when he did surf, he was surfing better than I've ever seen him surf.
He was putting a different passion into it.
He had this like dad power all of a sudden, bro. And that's what they do to you, bro. And you'll understand it. They give you this dad power. You get dad power.
I see that in my friends. And you know what's most beautiful is when you see that in a woman. Like I feel, I don't know much about women, but what I do know, I really love.
Don't ask me.
And so I see women and I see them before they have a child, and there's like this yearning to have this connection or something that we as men can't provide. It's just not in us, right? But once they have a child and they have that birthing experience and they have that opening and the breastfeeding experience and the interaction with the child, to me, I just feel like they even get more attractive in this special way, because there's a wholeness to them and a completeness to them that wasn't there before, and this kind of yearning. I'm so enthralled by the female divine feminine. Dude, it's like mind blowing.
You were going to be the best dad. I can feel it, and I don't know if you have a woman, but she's just getting prepared for you right now, whoever that is.
Well, you said, if they choose, I pray to God that one chooses me,
That's what will happen.
Yeah.
But if it hasn't happened already, I don't know your situation. But mate, I'm telling you that my wife gave birth to our second child with no assistance.
Wow.
So no assistance.
Lotus birth?
Oh, no. What's a lotus birth?
A lotus birth is when you guys deliver the baby.
Oh, okay. Well, we had a midwife.
Yep.
And it was in a hospital.
Yeah.
But we'd made a decision to... Anyway, she did it with zero assistance. And to this day, and I was actually lucky enough to when he came out, I was actually able to catch him with the guidance of the midwife.
Right.
Dude,
Is it cosmic?
It's cosmic. Like, it really is. But I don't want to go into it because it'll just come off as sound cliche. But one thing that I'll never, ever forget is these primal roars of like, I am woman, hear me roar, come out of my wife. It was like a birth of her child and a rebirth of her spirit. And after that moment, she was a different person. Yeah. And she even says it. She's like, I went to this other place. Yeah. I was like tripping. It was like, she said, it's like, I can see why women want to have multiple babies because I want to experience that pain again and that euphoria. And us dudes, we're never going to understand it.
It's not,
But do you think some dudes like feel, I guess, do you think that is a contributor to men feeling like isolated in families and wanting to sometimes leave because they don't have that same level of physical connection? What do you think? Too deep?
No. That's surface, dude. Surface.
It's surface?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, let's go.
Let's go. I think it's interesting times we're living in as men and women, like these innate, like kind of caveman things are taking on different roles now. Our roles as men are different than they used to be thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, so
I think we're confused. There's a lot of confused dudes, man.
Confusing dudes. Put me on the list, man. It's confusing times, bro. Where do we they don't even need us anymore to have children, right? Like,
I know,
right?
That hurts me.
Yeah. It's cool, man. Maybe we aren't needed anymore. Man.
I've actually said this to my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she said you are needed. Like you guys are needed.
Yeah. I know. I'm just joking.
I know, but she said, she says you're not needed. Like you're not needed for financial support.
Yeah.
You're not needed for this, that. Yeah. You just need to be there.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay. Yeah. What does that look like?
Well, that's getting harder and harder these days to really be here, right? And they're setting it up for us so that the less we're here, the better, right? But when you really see a man who's here and a woman who's here, and when it comes together and you see the light beings that they create, what a gift it is to the universe, right? Especially in these times.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. There's like a projection for the future. I feel, you working at the Green School and spending time around those types of special kids that get an opportunity to go to those places. I was talking with a friend the other night, and I feel like there's two tracks of the kids these days now, like a definite separation between kind of the iPad vibey world and this nature, permaculture, holistic, nature child.
Well, because I've been a full-time high school teacher for like 15 years. And I'm actually seeing this really strange evolution in this current generation, which is this whole crew that are anti-technology. It's like, it's not cool to be on, it's not cool. Like, they all have phones. Yeah. But they're actually, like, it went from, hey, smartphones are around, we can do this, we can use Facebook, and it was like, it was a pandemic in high school.
Smartphone pandemic was it's still real, right? It's still real.
But then, I shouldn't even laugh about that. But anyway.
But it's a real thing.
But then what's happened is it's actually like tapered off to like, and then I've seen kids go, oh, Facebook's not cool anymore. Yeah. It's all about Instagram. Oh, Instagram's not cool anymore. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
Then it's another thing. But then there's this another generation coming through. I've seen it. I mean, and I don't know if it's just the Green School is just a bit special in that way, but the whole crew is like, I don't have a phone, or hey, I found this Nokia. Check this out. It's like vintage, a retro movement.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I feel like in terms of an individual and their learning, I don't feel like information translates as effectively through a screen as it does from a material piece of paper and pen.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why, but look, that's a whole other argument.
Well, because we came from the generation before the internet.
We did.
Yeah. We remember the power of getting lost in a book, even whether it's just a picture book or like, right. We remember looking at a book and seeing the other side of the planet for the first time and being like, whoa, man, there's something outside of my little world here, but the new generation of children, they don't remember the days before the internet.
They don't, bro.
And, you go someone as far as like my father, when they grew up and they used to sit around and listen to the radio as if it was sitting around watching TV, funny, so to see, when I see my father watching TV and how much interaction he has with it, I have to take into consideration that he's coming from a space of radio, so the visual stimulation is a powerful thing, right?
Totally.
Whereas us, we grew up with televisions, we grew up with devices, we grew up with these things. And so for us, I feel like we're trying to reconnect with the things that they had originally growing up.
Totally.
That generation of my father's generation, where it was still safe to go run outside and play, and I remember when I was a child, my mom would be like, okay, come home when the street lights come.
Same here, man.
It was good vibes, right?
It was magical.
It was magical.
It was magical. I mean, and like that old movie Stand By Me. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, one of my favorites.
It really just summed up what I thought my childhood was like. It was like riding bikes around the bushland area near where I lived and having these adventures.
Right.
Not like in a Hollywood movie, but they felt like it. In hindsight, like I reflect upon them, like that was so surreal. Like I remember, things like we found a mulberry tree and we ate all these mulberries till we were sick, and like, I don't know.
That's it, right? And so how do you feel now? The question I want to ask you is how does it feel to raise children in this time?
I'm scared. Yeah, I'm scared because of I have a daughter.
Yeah.
And I really am concerned about how technology is such a easy means to objectify women. I get concerned about that. Since we've been in Bali, right, where we live, we deliberately don't have a full-length mirror, and we deliberately don't have a television. So any screen time she gets is like things that we can choose what she consumes, you know. But it was only recently she started looking at herself in a full-length mirror.
Have you noticed her energy change?
Yeah.
In which ways?
She's like, well, put it this way, like she doesn't want to swim naked around the pool anymore.
Whoa.
Little things like that.
How old is she?
She's 5. She's only 5. Like, so, or if there's people around, I mean, I know that's normal. Like, because when we're at home, it's all like whatever,
Yeah.
But I've noticed, like, I don't want to get naked around Otis or like it's your brother. Like, when did that start? You know, like that self-consciousness. I wanted to feel as free and to be as much of herself as she can be. And I do feel like technology can really stifle that. And that's just one concern. I'm also just really concerned about bringing my children into such a consumer mentality society. And already, like she's very much like, can you buy me something? I don't know how to combat it. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Bit to digest. But.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I feel like I'm not on that side of the court yet. I'm still in the phase of like still trying to get to the place where I can create the child, and not like create a space for love. And then once I feel like that space is created, then maintain it or protect it.
Can I ask, like, how would you create a space for love? A space within yourself?
Yeah, that's where I think it has to start, and then it reflects out.
So how do you go about doing that?
You have to be in a space of love. When throughout your day do you discern from a space of love? Where do you come off of it? And for what reason? Why?
I don't know.
Well, these are things I feel like
you're asking yourself those questions. Yeah.
And who am I trying to come out of that space for?
Yeah.
And for what? I mean, it's not God.
Nah.
You know, God's always like, stay in the space, stay in the space. What I battle with recently, you know, and I think it's because of kind of where I'm at in my age. You know, I turn 42 next month, and I'm at the place where my family, my created family, I'm sacrificing my opportunity to create my own family to spend time with my existing family. Gotcha. And how's my best way to honor my family lineage? Is it by going and spending time with my immediate family who has a completely different agenda than I do in life, and sacrifice my time to go out and pursue the one I love? Or do I go and honor my ancestors and go spend time with my family? And because that's not cross-pollinating, it's very different energy because of where their consciousness is and what they desire and what their goals are and what they put emphasis on and value on is something completely different than what's in my heart.
Yeah, man.
And so that's where I'm kind of at right now with it. And for so long, I've been sacrificing my own self for it. But my ancestors now on the other side, I can feel them being like, hey, you know, don't keep doing that.
Yeah, man. I feel like for many years, I agree with you. Like,
was that making sense?
It makes perfect sense. Okay. Like, I was doing things for other people.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, because I was trying to be what others or my ancestors, I guess, what I thought they wanted me to be. Am I relating there? Am I understanding?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and actually, like, my decision to stop drinking, actually, not that I want to, this is just an example, but my decision to stop drinking was based on that same notion of, like, when I finally had the courage to live my truth and say, you know what, I actually don't like drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like the taste. I don't like how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
Why am I doing it? And I was doing it because I thought other people wanted me to do it, and I wanted to appease them. Right. And it was the biggest profound life changer.
Yeah, it's a huge, you know, to find that comfort. It's like if we're both going down together, it's cool.
It's cool, yeah.
But if one person's going up and the other person's going down, it's not cool.
Totally,
you know.
man.
But if we're all heading down together, well, then it's all good, you know.
Yeah, man.
And that's what I felt a lot of times with the consumption of alcohol. It's just a social thing, you know. And that's the part of it that I miss, is being able to just hang socially with cats. And
it's almost like ceremony,
right? And how can I get that without getting the negative ramifications on my physics, right?
And that's where I struggled.
Yeah. And so I just got cool with being around people that were drinking and just holding a space, you know, and getting into the vibes and the conversations and everything without getting into this like need to like consume.
And you're doing it on your terms.
Yeah,
bro. That's rad. Like,
because I was missing out on waves. Like, that was the biggest problem for me, right?
Because you were hungover.
Yeah, I couldn't I personally didn't have the physical ability. You know, surfing's always been very challenging for me, and it's something that I've always had to work very hard to experience the little that I have.
Dude, you're rip. I've seen it.
But I know there's people that have like natural abilities, and they can do that. You know, they can drink all night and go out
and then go and charge.
And charge. I just can't. You know, I have, especially with these waves. Yeah. You know, here. It's one thing in California where, you know, it's longboardy and fishy and all, you know, but here there's consequences, you know. You know, it's solid.
It can be no joke.
Yeah.
So again, dude, like, I'm identifying with you on so many levels, because the final thing that actually stopped me from drinking was the same thing. I had the worst hangover of my life, and I was at the point where I was just already sick and tired of being sick and tired with this stuff. And then that I woke up and I get a call. He's like, dude, I won't say the name of it, but this place near my house, this surf spot was absolutely pumping. It only worked a few times a year. It was like the day of the year. Wind was perfect. Swell direction was perfect. And it's like my home break. So I was like, you know, your time to shine.
Yeah.
And I remember I got down to the beach and I stood on the beach and I was bleary eyed. I couldn't even, like, I could barely stand up. And I just went, and all my friends were out there having the day of the year.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling, that was it. I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
I never want to feel this way because it was taking me away from my love.
How many swells do you get in a life?
I know.
Right? Like,
yeah.
How many of these waves do we actually get in a life? I know from being here, the seasons are so special. Totally. It's such sacred time, and to be here on the cliff at Uluwatu, I feel like this isn't such an opportunity. And I'm going to go like waste it over some bintangs or something. It's not for me. I'm all for a couple beers, for some people, if that's the vibes at the end of the day or whatever, or like just to take the edge off or just to let the shoulders relax down. But I wasn't drinking like that. I was drinking to like numb something from my childhood. That was like a fucking traumatic vibe, right? So I was coming to the table with different shit. You know? And as soon as I surrendered to that, the ocean started giving me something that.
Were you getting more waves?
I was getting more connected. And it was through the waves that I was feeling the connection. And that was like, that was what my heart really craved.
Dude, were you feeling more in rhythm with the ocean in general?
I was in rhythm with everything.
Amazing.
With the day, with the sunrise, with the energy. I was waking up feeling alive, feeling like I had purpose, feeling like I'm here for a reason.
Totally, bro. I think as surfers, and I know for me, I'm now at the point where I can gauge how I'm running in life, how I'm traveling mentally, physically, by when I go surfing, by how in rhythm with the ocean I am, So if I'm having like bad surf after bad surf, feelings of frustration, or I'm constantly out of position because I'm chasing every peak on the beach. That's when I actually now stop and go, okay, like, there's a bigger problem here. What do I need to do? And then that's when I have to hit the reset button. Yeah. And surfing helps me with that. Yeah, definitely. And it's medicine. And it is medicine.
Yeah, and it's a mirror too,
A mirror?
A mirror, like you said, it gauges you, it shows you where you're at.
Totally.
I know that, like, personally, I love to handle everything that I need to handle on my checklist and on my to-do list, so that when I do go to the ocean, when I'm out there, I'm not thinking of stuff on land. I can just leave it all at the shore and walk out there clean.
Totally, bro.
And be able to interact with it. Yeah. If I'm something about my red on or some post I saw, something like that. There with that clean spirit, clean heart, hair, if I combed my hair, or what shorts I have on, or what brand, ocean just wants to feel your heart, right?
Totally, bro.
Yeah. So,
dude, I'm sorry, that's like, it's almost an epic way to end. Like, the ocean just wants to feel your heart. Like, it's really profound, bro. Yeah, it is. And I think surfer or non-surfer would understand that. I mean, surfers will understand that for sure. I mean, you've been surfing around the same time as me. I'm 43.
Okay.
I've been surfing well over 20 years and dabbled in it in like before that. But my wife is very much like, she's of the understanding that surfing is my medicine. So people will take medication for that, and she does understand how much it needs to happen. And
how do you put a value on that?
I don't know exactly. Yeah. I just feel so blessed that like, you've got numerous passions. You've got your art, you've got yoga, you've got surfing, and I feel like I've got my things are like surfing, skateboarding, and now actually this podcast. But some people I see, like, I think if you don't have it, like, having a passion has just saves me from so much stuff, dude. Yeah. Like, if I didn't have like, I think I would have went to these really dark, deep places with alcohol if it wasn't for surfing and skateboarding. Like, I would have went to that next level. Yeah. Like, but I didn't, because I had a passion.
Passion's important, and I feel like it's such a gift you're giving to the planet to have these podcasts and to take this time and put this out there, and I feel so honored that you bless me with the opportunity to share the energy that's coming through me.
Likewise,
it's
bro.
such a special
Dude,
vibe.
it shows you, man. I'm convinced now. I'm convinced more than ever that the podcast is choosing my guest. I didn't choose you, man. Yeah.
Well, I feel honored.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah,
but I also feel like what it's taught me is that like people aren't having enough conversations. So like what this is actually doing is creating a context for a conversation. We're sitting down, we're taking this conversation seriously because there's a microphone in my face. But why the fuck do we have to do that? Why can't humans just say, listen, you and I, we're going to allocate, meet me at 8 o'clock. We're going to allocate some time to sit down and talk.
It's important. I mean, men in general, we've been trained, for a very long time, generational wise, not to be expressive of how we truly feel, because it's a sign of feminine to feel, right? Men aren't supposed to feel. We're just supposed to react. We're just supposed to be, okay, is there fire? Or is it...
solve the problem.
Yeah, do I need to go kill something? Or should... do I need to not kill anything right now? What do we need to do? Am I killing or not killing? That's like our
yeah, it's true.
Right?
It's so
right?
true. Yeah.
But, the man of this era... It's a sign of intelligence if you have the ability to express emotions that are coming through us, right? I personally have a hard time articulating them or expressing them. And people are like, oh, but you explain things so well. But I'm like, no. If you knew the amount of things that were coming through me and what actually gets to come out, it's very small, So, any opportunity to express myself verbally these days, I really honor. I do, because it's so special. And to be around friends where, like you said, where we don't have to set up a time to talk. It's just like an open door policy of like, hey, man, I'm going through some shit right now. Can I call you? I don't know who else to reach out. I'm like, yeah, man, give me a call. Because
totally, bro.
I've lost friends to suicide, some real close friends. I've lost friends to overdoses. I've lost friends to society. I've lost friends that we've just kind of drifted apart because of lack of communication. And when we do communicate, it's nothing that needs to be communicated towards each other. It's all this communication that was directed towards other energies, but they're outletting it through you. And, it's wild times.
It is wild.
It's wild
and
times. Right?
I don't understand this, and I don't want to understand it, but this equation of sharing, listening, identifying, equals healing.
Completely.
And I don't I don't want to understand why. It just does. It needs to be done regularly. And it's like a medicine. And that's what I think people need to do. They need to share their story. Like whether it's their life story or their day story. Right. Share.
Just share.
But then try and actually listen. Yeah. And then even like I'm working on it, dude. I'm working on being a better listener.
Are, man. We all are.
But even tonight, like you're saying things and my mind is just going like even when you said I'm 42, I just said, I'm 43. Like I was just like again, boom, instant identification, instant removal of feelings of isolation, instant removal of feelings of being alone in this world. Well, automatic healing.
That's the beauty of communication is you get the reverb of it, right? You get the reflection of it. So a lot of times, like, I'll be feeling something and I won't know where it's coming from, what it is, or how to deal with it or what. And at last resort, I'll go talk to a friend about it. And that friend will be like, oh, man, I've been feeling the same shit too, dude. If you even knew. And then, like, to know that there's someone out there feeling anything even close to what you're feeling makes you not feel like you're the crazy guy on the cliff.
Do you actually go, like,
Completely, dude, completely. And the shoulders relax again. That's that nervous system. Finding that state of relaxation and not trying to like find a true north again, you know. And it's important. It's very important, you know. And like I said, man, it's such a beautiful thing you're doing here.
Thanks, brother.
I really love it.
Thank you, man. And I've said this before, but there's been a few times in my life where I've had like little epiphanies. One was when I first seen a skateboard. I just went, I fucking love that thing. Like, the next one was like actually like when I got my first proper wave and went across a wave. I just went, I've got to do this for the rest of my life. Like, okay, epiphanies. The birth of my children, just these amazing, profound. And then this part with this is the weirdest thing. Like I always wanted to start like I love podcasts for what you said in terms of it's a great way to learn and you can choose who you listen to. And I always just had this feeling like I want to do it, but I was so fear-riddled, fear of judgment, fear of ridicule, and I just couldn't do it because I was like, oh, my friends are going to make fun of me.
Yeah.
But then I moved to Bali. Yeah. And for some reason, the confidence, I just went, I was on my motorbike in Denpasar one day and it was like this clear voice in my head said, it's time to start the podcast. And I went, yeah. And I started the journey of, well, how do I do it? Okay, what recorder do I buy? Right. How do I get it on these platforms?
Yeah. It's so wild how fear takes us away from those aha moments, you know, and if we could just let fear just be fear and not rule us, right? So for me, I've always wanted my dreams to not just be dreams. I've always really, really used all of my efforts to make my dreams become a reality. You know, so for me, I'm all fucked up because I think I can dream everything.
What were your dreams as a kid? What did you dream of? Like, did you want to be an astronaut? You know, okay, because those dreams are. I mean, I wanted to be a professional soccer player when I was a little kid. Okay, so what were yours?
Mine were always to be an artist. I've always wanted, My mother took me to see a Keith Haring show when I was a little kid. I don't know, you know Keith Haring?
I feel ignorant, but I don't.
A really incredible artist from New York in like the 80s, and he died of AIDS in that era. But I remember my mother took me to see his art show in Los Angeles, and I'd never seen anything like that before. I was like, wow, this is larger than life.
That's me.
You know, this is powerful, you know? And so from then on, I really felt the power of the arts. So it was like, I knew this is what I really want to do with myself, you know? And my whole life has been trying to get to that space where I can just create a space to just work and be in a clear space.
And are you in that? Have you been able to make that happen now?
Yeah, I get glimpses of it. You know, I get these amazing spaces the universe gives me, and all I am in the space is by myself with a bunch of materials, and it's like, just go for it. God's like, here you go. And when I actually start working, a lot of times it's like an out of body experience. I'll be sitting in the corner watching myself work, and like you're saying, you become that instrument for the God to come through.
What's your primary medium that you've used? Is it oil on canvas?
It's mostly painting, oils and acrylics.
Okay. Do you ever dabble in like other areas of art?
Yeah, I studied ceramics.
Did you?
I was studying ceramics in college, at the university or the Art Institute of San Francisco, and I went home on break, and because I didn't have the ceramics takes a lot of equipment. And I was in such an art vibe at the time that like I never wanted to not be making art from the moment I woke up in the morning to the time I went to bed at night. Like my whole day revolved around art at that time. I wasn't surfing then. And so when I went home on a holiday break to visit my family, I just started painting. You know, I was just drawing and painting. It was the first time I really like got into my painting and drawing. Nice. And that's when the dot painting started happening.
When I've seen your dot paintings, like for me, what it conjures ideas of the Australian Indigenous art, and was that an influence on you?
Yes, incredibly. So I made these little watercolor dot paintings on watercolor paper, like a whole stack of them, and I took them back to show my art teacher at the time, who was my kind of mentor, and he goes, "Oh, that looks a lot like Aboriginal art," and I was like, "What's that?" And this pre-internet, so I had never been to Australia. And so he goes, "Oh, come tomorrow and I'll bring you a book about them. I have one at my house that you'll really love." And he showed me the Dreamtime. It was the first time I got introduced to the Dreamtime. And I was like, what? My wig, just like, my mind got completely blown back. I had never heard stories like that before coming from America.
Understandably.
Right.
Different country, culture.
Completely different. I had never seen color combinations like that before, of all these oxides, pigments, and earth tones.
Because that's what they used.
That's what they used, right? Was pigments from the earth.
From the earth.
There was no synthetic pigments at that time they were using with their work. Yeah. And so growing up, we get told, this is yellow. And they hand you a card that was made in some factory somewhere that says yellow, and this is red, and this is blue. But those are synthetic representations of the pigments that are found in the earth naturally. And so when you really look at those pigments and you see them, they're not really orange. They're not really red. They're like this in-between kind of color. They're not yellow, but they're not orange. They're not blue, but they're
the color of desert sand.
Exactly.
Or a mineral.
Right. So that when I found out natural pigments, changed my life.
Dude.
Really, like I had never experienced color like that. There was a vitality to it. There was a softness to it, but an intensity. There was like a richness of color, but it was still authentic and real. It wasn't like synthetic, made from plastic or lack of pigment.
The sheer detail of what you do, like, must put you into a deep meditative state.
Completely.
It must be meditation.
I go into...
Because it's so... it's quite repetitive.
Yep. It's a complete meditation.
Time consuming.
Yep. Time goes out the window very quick. Time disappears.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Space disappears, and I'll go into like a little section of the canvas, and that will become the whole universe. And it becomes like a micro kind of version of the bigger macro micro thing of the bigger universe. And I know if I just focus on this little area right here and put all my mind's attention into one single dot, then I can't go wrong.
Yeah.
That's it. And it ends up becoming, it gets out the feeling inside of me that needs to come out. That's the dance.
This is so good. Like it gets out of me.
And so right now I'm at this place where with my art, I'm really trying to tap into this kind of modern primitive energy which to me is what is looked at as primitive or indigenous is really advanced and futuristic.
Like future primitive?
Future primitive.
Dude, future primitive.
Future primitive.
It was like the first skateboard movie I've ever seen by Powell Peralta. And all you skaters are out there listening to this. Like, future primitive.
That's it, right?
So that's what you're going for.
That's what I'm going for.
Is that how you describe the genre?
That's what my heart is desiring, is like this future primitive energy of like
amazing, dude.
No recognizable images, nothing that has to do with time, nothing that has to do with the now. The only way you would realize that my paintings were made now is because of the materials.
Like the actual acrylics and the
actual
the material it's put on.
Yeah.
Just trying to get my head around future primitive in terms of,
because it's like this, right?
Primitive for me, that conjures a link to the earth, indigenous.
Yeah. but also what was important, right? Like now we're connected with the earth and this and all that, but we're really not, it's not, right?
So would you say it's more of like future primitive is connected to what the earth is giving you in regards to colors and tones?
No. Primitive meaning you put your mind state in what is. You got to kind of look at it backwards, right? Like primitive is advanced,
right?
And advanced, what we think of as advanced, is really primitive.
Well, here's a question though. Let's say I do a piece of art. Yep. Okay, let's say look at this mobile phone.
Yep.
Okay, this is a modern piece of technology.
Right.
A modern. You could even call that art. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely.
But in 500 years' time, is that primitive?
Yeah, exactly right.
So okay. So how do you do that now?
That's the thing, right? Is so you have to focus your mind's attention to get to a space where you're away from anything that's technological, anything in that world.
Okay.
And you get back to our original ways of creation.
Gotcha.
And it has to, it's tough, right? Because
so tough,
because
bro.
Technology is such a big part of our existence these days. So the real technological advancements, I believe, will be us getting back to a primitive, what is told us as a primitive mind state. So the simple life is actually more complex these days.
Totally. It is.
It is.
Like, I think
you have to be a multi-millionaire to live like a beach bum these days.
Isn't it sad? Like some people say, like, they've bought their freedom. They've bought that through financial freedom. They've bought it. I'm conflicted. I really am
in that world, though. But in this world, that was the beauty of coming to this place of the planet. Right? The emphasis was put on simplicity.
Yeah,
the complex was not honored.
Dude, it's so good, dude. But give me a look at the time. It's been epic. It's been an hour and 56 minutes.
Effortless,
Kristyan. Dude, it's like, I just don't know where that 2 hours went. I'm so grateful. But listen, like, how you feeling? Like, you feeling all right? Tired? You're hot, sweaty. We haven't even got a drink here. Like, we talk so much. But
I'm good. We did good.
Yeah, you feel all right? Like, is there any, like, are you done? Is there anything you want to finish on something?
No. I just wanted to say it's just been such an honor, right?
Likewise,
and
man.
I feel like if I go on into the next life or wherever, there was some sound waves of our time here. And,
thanks, bro.
And maybe, if this apocalypse thing, maybe they'll dig up a hard drive somewhere or something, and they'll find some kind of.
There's two dudes that were joking about the pandemic on the cliff at Uluwatu. No, we weren't joking about it. I'm not.
That's real.
But listen, because my life is, I'll be honest, it's quite chaotic at the moment for various reasons, and I'm usually a bit more organised and prepared, and I would often have a photographer with me. Her name's KristyanScarborough.com. You can check out her work. She can't be with us tonight because of social isolation restrictions, which is a very interesting thing to say out loud. And I've had to resort to primitive measures, such as just using my mobile phone. Christina, they'll never do your pictures justice. She takes beautiful photos.
Photoshop that out or something.
Yeah. But also, I also ask my guests to come to the podcast with a cause, something they want to advocate for. It could be a charity, or it could be just a social cause or a social enterprise. But I actually, because it all happened so quick with you tonight, I didn't get a chance to put that on you. Yeah. But I'm going to put you on the spot, because what I'll do is, if you have something that, and if you can't think of anything and you think of it later, I can add it to your show notes.
Yeah.
But is there a cause or something you feel like you'd like to advocate for? I mean, there's so many.
Just to touch back, I don't, you kind of put me on the spot.
I did. Big time.
I just want to talk to the people that are at that point where they're feeling a little bit anxiety about following their heart.
Okay.
And that's kind of the cause I think is most important these days is to follow your heart.
Okay.
You know, and for me, sometimes it gets me in trouble, sometimes it gets me out of trouble, but in that space, I always feel myself in my heart.
Okay.
So, you know, if I reach out to one person out there that is kind of on the fence about whether to follow their heart or not, I think this could be an important conversation.
Amazing, bro.
You
And
know.
what I'll do is I'll actually find some links to maybe places people can go to assist with them managing feelings of anxiety.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to achieve is with every guest, if they have a cause, and people can actually go to the website and give them opportunities of ways they can help the world and be of service.
Yeah.
So they've got like a directory of things they can either donate to or research or look into. So
Cool.
I'll find something around those themes because I really, man, I'm definitely on board with those feelings. And I think everyone experiences anxiety in their life to some degree, and some worse, some more. Now, the other thing I want to add is usually, if it wasn't for the current situation we're in, I would have a gift for you.
Oh, man.
And
I'm good on
I've actually got two gifts, though. I've got one in the bag. Hang on a sec.
That's the last thing. That's the last thing. Just you being here is like the gift, man.
Oh, dude, stop it.
Come on.
Stop it. No, thanks, bro. Likewise, mate. I'm so stoked. This has been the best. But I'll go into my little bag of tricks. So I've got two gifts, and I give one of these to every guest that's on the show.
Okay.
And it's a humble gift, and it was something I always wanted to do starting out. As I always wanted to give guests a gift, but you get a terriblehappytalks.com. Oh, Terrible Happy Talks sticker. Nice. Now, it's only reserved for people that have been on the podcast. Okay. So
can I put it on here?
You're an alumni. You can stick it wherever you want, bro.
Thank
and
you
the other gift I would have had for you is a pair of shoes. Oh, dude, you've got to get a photo of that.
We'll just put it on the third eye.
On the third eye. It's just third eye, bro.
We'll just keep it on the third.
So only people that have been on the show have that sticker. And
Nice.
I would also usually have a pair of shoes from you from our friends at Indosol. And
Kai gives me plenty of sandals.
Oh, has he?
Yeah,
I'm sure he has. He loves giving those things.
Dude, I love that guy, man.
He's so generous.
I'm so stoked on what he's doing, and I've been seeing him over the last 7 years kind of evolve his eco game, and I just love that guy. I support him. I love what he's doing, and I rock the Indosol.
Right, man.
Yeah. Across the planet.
I kind of feel like with what's going on at the moment, there's going to be this big reset. And I think a lot of data is going to come out about how much of a relief our physical environment got. Okay. I mean, already the skies look bluer here in Bali.
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
Yeah.
And I just think it's going to really highlight this move towards trying to look for alternative materials and ways to, like, this secondary resource market that Kai talks about in terms of, like, just, I mean, as simple as what they're doing is upcycling used motor vehicle tires. So I think hopefully that movement just keeps perpetuating, you know.
It's the only way, you know. It's the only way. There's so much. One of my close friends was teaching me about regenerative agriculture and the power of regenerative agriculture, and he was just schooling me on the power of the earth once we give it enough time to do its thing, and I feel like we're all good. We're all
totally
good.
man.
Yeah, it's all good.
I remember a permaculture.
Not just sit back and just, like, you know, watch the fireworks show, but still, like, just do with what your, like I was saying, what your heart, follow that heart, you know.
It's real. It's real, but it's scary.
We all play a purpose.
We all play a purpose.
Yeah.
Everyone's unique, and everyone's story is unique, and you, my friend, are no exception.
It's an honor, man, to be here on this earth.
And thank you for your courage. And thanks for being brave enough to be on. It takes courage to have a microphone shoved in your mouth and talk about your philosophy.
You make it effortless. You know, you make it effortless.
Yes, brother.
Yeah, man. God bless you, and God bless everyone. You know?
Man, love your work. I feel like you and I are going to be spending some time together.
Let's do it.